Welcome into A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday. Going to have a fantastic show today. We got a lot to discuss in the world of Titans. Bud Dupree, we got some more information. We talked a lot yesterday about, the questioning of the Walgreens incident. Now we have some video, and we talked about that. Video that opens our eyes to a lot of things. We have the TMZ video. We also have the video from Broadway Sports kind of put together. So we will react to that and get you guys' opinion. Fantastic show today. Jack is filling in for Austin today, and Sports kind of put together. So you may have to turn your volume down, Jack. There you go. We got a great show, though. We'll also talk about what the Titans will possibly do when it comes to Bud Dupree. Look, assault charges happen. I don't know what John Robinson and the organization will do. If there will be punishment, we'll get you guys' opinion on that. And also the return of the king. So some tough things to talk about, but there is some hope on the horizon. We've got a report from Diana Rossini about Derrick Henry and the return to practice and the possibility of playing this week. So we will talk about that. And then, of course, it is Wednesday, Throwing Shade Day. It is that type of day. We got you covered. Jack, how are we doing?
Excited to be here, especially today. You mentioned it. Winter is coming and the king is back. So while you guys are trickling in here, make sure to share the show, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, whatever you got to do, that bottom right-hand corner, share the show, retweet the show. We want to grow this conversation. It's a fun conversation today for the most part. We've got to discuss what happened at Walgreens with Bud Dupree. I understand that's not exactly going to be a fun thing. A new video came out, so we're going to react. I think it'll be an interesting discussion. I don't want to let you guys know which way I'm leaning right now, but make sure to share the show. We'll get to that shortly. Happy to have you here, and let's talk some Titans today. It's a big week.
Yeah, let's get it going. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I am Zach Bingham. He is Jack Gentry. This is A to Z Sports. We are powered by BetMGM, the only sports book that powers A to Z Sports mornings, and you need to download it. Use that promo code ATOZ Sports. That is our title sponsor. We got to thank our presenting sponsors, including Renter's Warehouse. Go to renterswarehouse.com. Also, Wilson County Hyundai. If you need a new vehicle, new ride, Wilson County Hyundai has you covered. The Bone and Joint Institute down there in Franklin. They also have you covered for any of your injuries. You got a bad hip, bad shoulder, state-of-the-art facility, and top-notch doctors right there at the Bone and Joint Institute. And also our new sponsor, a great sponsor, Farm Bureau Health Plans. I can't wait to get started with them in the new year and change my plan for the better. We'll talk more about that. But thank you to all of our sponsors. Jack, we got a lot to discuss, and it starts with Bud Dupree. Let me get some initial reactions from you, Jack, before we get into the video that was revealed yesterday and leaked out by Broadway Sports. Kind of had the iPhone camera vision, but we also, TMZ, go figure, out there in LA, they got a hold of the Walgreens security camera footage. I don't know how much they paid for that, but we will show you that. Credit to TMZ for that. But what was your first reaction of just this whole story from start to finish, of you hearing Bud Dupree being questioned, to the charges, to the video?
Well, it's not good. And Bud Dupree, he has never really given off, any vibes that he would do something assault related. Look, the video that we saw yesterday, we knew that was kind of a blurry wrestling clip in the middle of a Walgreens. There had to be more. And TMZ late last night dropped the second video. In the Tighten Up podcast, we had Braden Gall on this week. We discussed how there's always a second video, and never rush to judgment without seeing that second video. And what we saw, and we'll play it here shortly for you guys, is what looks like Bud Dupree ran in and kind of bear hugged the guy and ended up getting cited with a misdemeanor assault charge. I don't think it's going to be a huge problem for him, but it's something to definitely discuss. And you don't want your key players and your leaders on your defense, which has played so well, to even be involved in something like this. It's a bad sign for right now. I mean, we're heading into the playoffs. That can't happen. So Let's go ahead and look at the video and
Yeah, let's
break
take
it down
to
for
the
everybody.
let's take it to the tape. This is courtesy of TMZ. This is the Bud Dupree video from the Walgreens security camera footage. So a little bit more, and also is mixed in there the camera footage. And let's watch it and let's react.
Man, this is Bud Dupree. Get the f out of here! Take it.
So Buck put that together last night on primetime, and we rewatched it this morning. Man, there was a lot that went on in that video, and you're kind of, because there's no sound. The sound turned on at the end. There was chaos, but the first half of the video, you're just kind of waiting to see what is going on. Again, that video is courtesy of TMZ, and then Broadway Sports was the second video. Jack, what'd you think about how everything went down? Again, we can't hear anything, and I think that is the key, because something was said, things were said for you would assume for that incident to occur. What were your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because Emily Proud, WKRN, she kind of reported on the legality of the situation and what kind of surrounds, the fallout of this. And obviously, he was issued a citation. And in the citation, it stated that a group of people initially entered the store and got in a verbal argument with the victim, who we saw sitting down and extending his arm, looked like he was taking a selfie with Bud Dupree. And once Bud Dupree came back in, they got in a physical altercation, and that resulted in Bud Dupree being charged with assault, fear of bodily injury. And for something like this, Emily goes on to say that this charge can carry 11 months, 29 days in jail. That's obviously this as severe as it can get, and a $2,500 fine. Typical first offense defendant will be ordered anger management class. So for me, if all that comes of this is anger management classes, I don't think that that's a problem. I think that even may be a stretch. Look, it was a dispute that turned a little physical in the middle of a Walgreens. There's been way worse videos that have surfaced, and a lot worse has been done. And those players have not been suspended by the NFL. To me, this looks like a whole lot of nothing, but it's the optics of it and when it happened that concerns you from a Titans fan's perspective. Why is Bud Dupree involving himself in this thing? He's got a lot to lose. It's that part doesn't.
He got $82 million to lose.
But I don't. That part makes it makes you scratch your head, but when it comes to discipline and stuff like that, I don't think it's a big deal. It was kind of just a big kerfuffle in the middle of a Walgreens in Germantown.
All right, well, so let's get to that before you kind of answered it, but no, that's the question we're asking. Is Bud Dupree's incident, is this a big deal, small deal, or no deal after seeing what happened, right? Because that's something that happened that we didn't know yesterday. And I think now that we've seen the video, and we'll play it one more time for more people rolling in, what do you guys think? Yesterday we asked this question, and We had a lot of no deals. We had some small deals. I don't think I saw big deals. Maybe after the video, what do we think? Before we watch the video one more time and get to your comments, I do want to talk to you guys about one of our great sponsors, and that is Renters Warehouse. Renters Warehouse, Nashville's professional landlords, right there at the bottom of the screen, renterswarehouse.com, $89 a month. I mean, that's all it takes, $89, and they can basically help your entire livelihood in creating cash flow, getting your property set up with the right tenant. They go out, they do background checks, they do it all. That is Renters Warehouse right here in Nashville. So if you're thinking about you have a property or renting a property out, let them be the landlord. They will take care of you right there at renterswarehouse.com.
I want to talk about BetMGM. It's the king of sportsbooks. You guys know this. If you're betting through any app, make sure it's BetMGM. New users, this message is for you. Use promo code A to Z Sports, ATOZ Sports. You'll receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000 by using promo code A to Z Sports. There's a ton to bet on tonight. Hey, the Tennessee Vols are taking on a very short-handed Ole Miss basketball team. If you want to drop a little there before the line moves to about 20 in the Vols' favor, it's at 16 right now. That might be a good idea. Vrabel's still getting over 3-1 odds on Coach of the Year. That may be a good investment. So make sure to download the BetMGM app, use promo code A to Z Sports to cash in on this risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Let's head to the comments because the question that we are asking is big deal, small deal, or no deal when it comes to the Bud Dupree incident. One more time because we got more audience coming in here. Let's watch the video. You'll get a chance to look at the TMZ version, which is the Walgreens security camera, and then that will pan to Broadway Sports featured video that actually was in the tussle. I mean, this was live action. I wish we could have heard what had happened in the TMZ video. But here, one more time, here is the Bud Dupree video.
Ma, this is Bud Dupree. Get the out of here! Take it.
So there's the video. They saw it last night on primetime. If you watched Buck's show this morning, here's my initial reaction to it. You know, I think that, and I agree with the chat as we go to all of the big deal, small deals, and no deal. Overwhelmingly, this is a small to a no deal. Jeff says small deal. Rashid says, I wonder what was said to make that all go off. I agree with Rashid. Like, what happened? That would be information that I think everybody would like to know. Jonathan says no deal. Michael says small deal. Kenneth says no deal. No deal, or excuse me, small deal from Steven. No deal from Joseph. Sam says no deal. No deal whatsoever from Aaron. MB says no deal. Willie says no deal. Anthony says small deal. Let's see. Rachel C says no deal. Small deal from Orlando. A ton of deals coming in. The majority of it is, and Brad says no deal yesterday, no deal today. And that was one of the reasons why we asked this follow-up question. Is we asked this question yesterday before the video. Now we're asking this question after the video. Here's my take. And I think that this is a small deal. I justify a small deal by it still is a deal. They had an assault charge stem from this. Now, Jack, you kind of went through the assault, right? So like assault could mean the extreme and assault could mean, misdemeanor charge. But that is the letter of the law. That's not necessarily defined by each individual incident, right? This is a certain incident that we saw. Something happened where, it looked like a selfie was taken and something possibly maybe was said. And then Bud Dupree wanted that phone. That, I think, was the key. Bud Dupree said at the end of the final video, go grab that phone. He reached for the phone in the TMZ security footage video and tried to grab it. So something was on that phone, and it looks like something was said on that phone, right? Whether that person, that employee, or whoever, the charges got brought and police were sent to the Walgreens, they tended to a female and a male employee that had cut on her hand and on his forehead. So assault charges were brought. I think it's a small deal based on the video that we saw, though.
Yeah, you could argue that it has to be a deal because the police were involved and there was a citation issued. But I'm looking for my briefcase right now, Zach, because I'm going no deal, Howie. I don't think it's a deal at all. It was a lot of pushing and shoving in the middle of Walgreens, and I think that in the video, obviously you hear that's Bud Dupree. If it wasn't Bud Dupree, I want to ask you: would there have been charges pressed? Would there have been a citation that was issued?
You have no idea.
I don't think so. Well,
that's at the police's discretion. I don't think that the police are like, oh, well, this guy's I don't think that's how the police enforce on celebrities or non-celebrities.
I just don't think that it would be, I don't even think a citation would have been issued if it wasn't Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree's got a lot of money. The guy who took the selfie knows it. He's been recognized in the store. They know that this is Bud Dupree, player for the Titans on a new contract, got some money to deal with. And maybe that was a situation where they took advantage of Bud Dupree being involved in an altercation, if that's even what you want to call it. Look, I've never been, and obviously you guys know this coming in here. You guys see my haircut. I need one tomorrow. Y'all know that I've never been in the celebrity spotlight like that. But I can't imagine how I'd react if I walk into a Walgreens and I have this guy. God knows what he said when I walked in. Put his phone in my face, trying to take a selfie of me without my permission. To me, it's an absolute no deal. And I say this from a Titans perspective, right? It's a no deal because there won't be any punishment handed down, most likely, after the video has emerged. I don't think there's enough there to really.
Well, we'll get to that here in a second. Don't jump the gun.
Okay. Well, yeah, but that's that goes into my reasoning why I think it's no deal at all.
So we're basing this question on the charges, right? I think I go into do charges want to be pressed, asked, right?
Yeah.
Because you've heard that. I mean, I've seen my fair share of, cops on television or whatever. You've seen in disputes, domestic disputes or whatever. Hey, would you like to press charges? And based on incidents, like, look, I've watched cops on television.
Great.
If there's a domestic dispute, if there is visible evidence of, let's say, a domestic violence and this is a separate case,
cut, a laceration,
something, they ask, do you want to press charges? If that was asked by this particular Walgreens employee and he said yes, then that's why charges were brought.
Yes.
Right. And I think we have to understand that. And again, those are two separate examples. This example of Walgreens, if that was the case, it's still a deal, though, because you know why it's a deal? It's not a no deal because Bud Dupree still has to deal with it, right? He's got to either go to court, do community service, get it expunged off his record. There are pay whatever the money is, right? If it's a settlement, I don't know if it is a money grab, but that's why it is a deal. I think we are all in agreement that it is not a big deal. Right?
No, and thank God for the Titans, right? Imagine being without Bud Dupree, the guy who you really went out and got in free agency to be the cornerstone of your D-line. Now, I understand that hasn't exactly come to fruition. His injury situation and maybe being rushed back early in the season kind of set him behind the 8 ball in that regard. But to be without Bud Dupree for even a game in the playoffs could really be the difference between winning and losing, because everything has to go right once, mid-December or mid-January, rolls around. So I don't know. It's upsetting that he was even involved, but now that we've seen a couple videos, this doesn't look like it's going to get that bad.
Well, that leads us into the citation was given and received by Bud Dupree. I mean, he has a charge. It is an assault charge. Now, the word assault charge, those things like, sounds terrible, right? It sounds terrible, but after we actually get the details, and that's the problem with like the internet and everything else, is know the details before jumping to conclusions, but it is an assault charge. The next question we're going to ask you guys is, based on Bud Dupree's assault charge, will the Titans, and here's the difference, we had a lot of good comments, do something or nothing? So that's what we want you guys to comment in the comments section. Something or nothing based on Bud Dupree's assault charge, because now you're starting to interfere with a playoff run, a pass rusher that they bought for a lot of money in the offseason. And so that's the question we were asking. Before we get to that, I do want to talk to you guys about Bone and Joint Institute. Don't fumble on your recovery. A great presenting sponsor right here in Nashville, in Franklin, and they've got satellite locations all around Middle Tennessee. If you have an injured shoulder, a knee, a hip that's bothering you, a joint pain, dislocated finger, whatever it is, they have the perfect doctors to help you out. We talk to those doctors all the time when it comes to Titans injuries. Well, they can diagnose and help you. Austin and myself have always gone to them and their doctors when we've had Austin's had a knee surgery. I've had a shoulder surgery. Don't fumble on your recovery. Bone and Joint Institute.
Don't fumble on this opportunity either. BetMGM, the king of sports books. New users use promo code A to Z Sports, ATOZ Sports. You see it on your screen to take advantage of a risk-free bet up to $1,000. There's a ton of stuff going on. You want to get in the game. Maybe you're sitting on your couch in the middle of the week saying, man, there's really nothing going on tonight. Well, that's not the case if you have the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Use promo code A to Z Sports and just flip on the TV, find a game that you like. Maybe it's the Grizzlies. Maybe it's the Predators. Maybe it's the Vols. Hey, if you bet on Vandy last night, congratulations. You can bet on whatever you want. You get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Make sure to take advantage of this offer while we still have it going on.
A to Z Sports. The question that we asked is based on, and this I think is interesting because this is based on what you think the Titans will do, is this going to be something or nothing in the Titans' eyes? Will they do something or nothing? Will this be a suspension? Will this be a fine? Will they say anything that they would do would be something or nothing, which would be sending out a statement. We understand. We're going to wait till the legal process plays out, and then we'll assess. Let's go to the comments. Something or nothing by the Titans. Aaron says nothing. So does Brian. Steven says something will happen. Monsoon says nothing. Clayton says nothing. Michael says nothing. Got a slew of nothings from Guy, Jonathan, Kendrick, Orlando. Juan says they should fine him. Wes says nothing. Nothing. A lot of nothings coming in. Louis says something. So there's a something, but few and far between. Michael goes with nothing. So does Joseph. So does Ronnie. Where do you stand on this, Jack?
Well, I mean, I went no deal Howie on you earlier. So obviously I'm going nothing here. I don't think that anything will come from this. It's just the optics of this situation. And, Vrabel may talk to him. Robinson may talk to him. Hell, Amy Adams-Strunk may even have a conversation with him, although I don't think it'll get that far up the ladder. But to suspend the man and really, there was a situation this offseason, actually, that kind of makes me think the Titans certainly won't take any action on this particular incident. Whether it gets to, the commissioner's office, I'm not sure. But Rashad Weaver in the offseason, this was a guy the Titans drafted, and come to find out a domestic violence issue was going on his end. And they never kind of jumped to suspend him. And this Bud Dupree video, there's nothing really in there that makes me think maybe he needs to sit out a game. Maybe he needs to take a week off, get his head together. And what you could even do is
they're in a must-win situation for the number 1 seed in Houston, a team they lost to weeks prior.
But Zach, that Texans team is not this Texans team, and this Titans team is not that Titans team, right?
Well, this Texans team beat the Chargers 2 weeks ago.
I know, I understand. And look,
all I've stated was facts. I'm just bringing those up.
I understand, and those are fine, but I just don't think that suspending Bud Dupree right now is something A, the Titans want to do, B, the Titans can afford to do, and C, I don't think it really warrants a suspension in the first place.
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I agree with the chat. I don't think the Titans will do anything. So my answer is nothing. The Rashad Weaver example is a good example. Now, as you said, no video, so that is different, and every case is different. But I think that they will fall back on, we are going to let the legal process play out. And, charged is not found guilty, right? That's 2 different things. So if he was found guilty and something happened, then that's a whole different thing. But charges were pressed against him.
Mm-hmm.
He has to accept that. There's a citation. I honestly say this. I think it benefits maybe Bud Dupree with the video for the Titans' sake, right? Because now they can be a judge on how serious they think that it is. And no person should be assaulted. I want to clarify that. But I do think that they will let the legal process play out, and that's, that will take weeks, and he'll be able to play against Houston, should be able to play. If they beat Houston, they'll get a first-round bye, so he'll get a week off, and then in the divisional round to start as the number 1 seed, whoever they play. Tavares brings up something. He won't play versus the Texans.
And that's where I was going with
that's his opinion.
Maybe they give him a week off, and maybe it's the Texans game.
But doesn't that show that the Titans believe that it's serious?
Yeah, and I don't think they will sit him, because obviously this game is so important, and I don't think it warrants the Titans sitting him. But it is a possibility, and crazier things have happened. Although I don't think that they will sit him for this game, and I don't think he deserves to be sat. But it's an option. And do you need – I don't want to get cocky here because the Titans did lose earlier in the season, but do you need a full arsenal to beat the Texans at this point? A Texans team that is actively you would assume this week probably not playing their hardest to win. They've got a draft.
What does Michael say? What's Michael say?
Too important of a game.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to win to get the 1 seed.
So it is.
It's very important, but I'm just saying.
Game since 2008, Jack.
I know. I'm not suggesting the Titans should sit him. I'm just saying that if for whatever reason they decide that this video is too much for them, they have the option, and it's not going to carry over to the playoffs. You mentioned it, the legal process, which, by the way, innocent until proven guilty. That won't even run its course until probably after the playoffs go through, anyways. So I don't think any action is needed on this. I don't think he's going to sit out. I think you're going to be looking at a Titans team this Sunday with Bud Dupree on the field.
I'll tell you a little something. This is the biggest game. I don't think that he will sit out. I think he will play. This is the biggest game since 2008 because this is the first time that they have an opportunity for the 1 seed since 2008. You know what happened in 2008?
Oh, the terrible towel curse. How could I forget?
Well, I was going to say that, but I was also going to say Google introduced Chrome as its first browser.
It's been a while.
Chrome was created. I'm on Chrome right now doing this show. This is probably version, 185. So biggest game since 2008. I do not think that they will sit Bud Dupree out because I think that plays into they think that this is serious. And I personally, this is my personal opinion, watching the video, understanding the charges, seeing whether it's the iPhone video or the security footage, no punches were thrown. I didn't think that he was maliciously trying to attack and beat down and hurt. He was trying to get the phone. Now, here's the problem. You can assault somebody trying to get a phone, right? you're going to have to assault me to get this phone out of my hands, Jack, right?
Yeah.
So
it's not an easy process to get the phone from a man who doesn't want to give his phone up.
exactly.
But technically, it goes down as an assault. It's the ugly word that I think sounds worse in this situation than what we saw on video.
You know what's worse? You know what's worse? Myles Garrett taking his helmet off and hitting Kyle Rudolph over the face.
That was the original assault tweet from Adam Schefter. Yeah, that you could have made a case.
That's in my opinion. So look, I think we all have come to the conclusion we think it's a small deal to a no deal, and we do not think overall the Titans will punish Bud Dupree. We'll find out here in the next couple of days. I think that's the best thing. Now on to something that was rough. Now on to something a little bit of a lighter feel, and that is the report from Diana Rossini about the return of the King. Derrick Henry's return to practice. We'll get some more information on that. We'll see Diana Rossini's tweet right up on the screen. But first, I want to tell you guys about a brand new sponsor this year. That is Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better coverage, better rates, better service. They have over 195 locations. And let me tell you, I'm excited about working with Farm Bureau Health Plans. They're a viable option. They're easy to get a hold of, whether it's a 1-800 number or online application. And they have a plan designed for me. That's what I'm getting educated on. I'll be honest, I had bad health coverage over the last couple of years. Being an entrepreneur, I don't have a big business that helps me, that pays I don't have that. I've got to go individual. And that's the best part about Farm Bureau Health Plans. They have it for young families, new graduates, entrepreneurs like myself, and more. You've just got to figure out what your plan is. As I'm going through this process, it looks and appears to be that I will get better coverage at a lower rate. That's what it's trending to be. That's kind of the best part about this, first couple of weeks. We're going to find out. I'm going to be open and honest with how this whole thing works. You can find your plan and go through the process that I'm going through at fbhp.com.
Here's the plan tonight, guys. I'll give you a plan. Zach was talking plans. You want a plan? Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app. And new users, once you do this, once the process of downloading the app is complete, make sure to use that promo code A to Z Sports, ATOZ Sports, because what's the point of downloading a sports betting app without a free bet or anything? That's what BetMGM is doing. They're offering you a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Use it however you please, whatever you want to bet, whether it's SEC hoops, the NHL, or ping pong in Japan, whatever you want to do. Use promo code A to Z Sports to cash in on this $1,000 risk-free bet for new users and new users only. Guys, take advantage of this offer while it still lasts. It's a great deal, and you got to use that promo code, because you use that promo code, that helps us. Support us. Support BetMGM because they support us. We love you guys. Use that promo code A to Z Sports. Get that risk-free bet up to $1,000. We'll all make some money.
All right, let's go to Diana Rossini and the tweet that she sent out yesterday, the inside knowledge. And look, Diana Rossini has been all over the Titans over the last several years in reporting inside the facility and information that Titans fans need to know on the national scale. This is what she said. Diana Rossini tweets out, Titans running back Derrick Henry is expected to practice tomorrow. That was yesterday. Tomorrow is today, per sources. After jogging on the grass last week in cleats, another great step towards his return. I was told there's always a chance he can play against Houston, but realistically, a long shot. We've been waiting for this day, that tweet, for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Jack, what do you think?
Well, it's awesome, and winter is coming. He's a little late for Dehember, but maybe Dehenuary will do. We'll work on something. I don't know, but it's huge news for the Titans. They mentioned that he just started jogging on grass last week, a huge step to his recovery, which Ian Rappaport initially put a timetable on from 6 weeks to 10 weeks. This Jones fracture thing is tricky, and we're a few days past 9 weeks. He remember, he suffered this on Halloween against the Colts in week 8. So he's had some time, 9 weeks in. It's a long shot that he goes this week, right? So you'll have week 10 against the Texans, week 11 as the bye. He'll come back a couple days short of 12 weeks on the shelf. Plenty of time for him to get back. But obviously, this changes everything from a Titans perspective. The way the team is clicking right now, they're finding momentum heading into the playoffs. Getting Derrick Henry back, it has to be an extra shot of adrenaline in this team's arm, which is already feeling pretty good about themselves.
No, and Jason Martinez brings something up that is very, very unique. And that is the King could still get 1,000 this season. Isn't that wild? He's got 937 yards rushing. Now, Jason, I don't think that's going to happen. My personal opinion, I don't think they will play Derrick Henry. Notoriously, this is too quick. It's Wednesday. What do you think, Jack? Do you think that there's any shot at playing?
I think a lot of Titans fans would be pissed if Derrick Henry got 1,000 yards, got to the 1,000-yard marker, because they don't need him against the Texans right now. Imagine if you rush Derrick Henry back and he re-aggravates an injury that has historically been one that can cause problems long term. You've got his future ahead of him, and really his career ahead of him for the Titans. This isn't something you push right now. You've earned yourself the bye.
Biggest game in 14 years.
I know, but if you get by the Texans, you've earned yourself a bye. You've bought him the extra rest. That was the whole conversation from the beginning, right? Just get an extra week of rest for him in the playoffs. He'll be able to come back, maybe not 100%. Obviously, he still has to get up to game speed and everything, but it's Derrick Henry, for God's sakes. If anyone can do it, he can do it. So to force him back this week, maybe a little ahead of when he's comfortable, because again, just started jogging on grass this past week. His first practice in over 9 weeks is expected to be today, and I don't know that he'll be a full participant in that. So why are we trying to rush him back this Sunday? I get it; it's a big game. The road to the Super Bowl has never come through hasn't come through Nashville since 2008, and let's be honest, that road was there was a fork in that road, and it diverted to Pittsburgh. But either way, you can't rush him back; it's too soon. You've bought yourself this extra time. Take advantage of that. Reward yourselves. In Deontay Foreman, he's gone 3 games over 100 yards this season. He's capable of doing it, especially against the Texans team, which drafted him in the 3rd round a few years ago. I don't know. I think it would be just forced to bring him back this week.
So Anthony brings up a point that I'll double down on of what I was saying. And Josh brings up, what do we know? Are we doctors looking at his foot? No, it does come down to the doctors clearing him to play. But the fact that he's cleared to practice, and that was Diana Rossini's report, and I'll throw that up on the screen one more time, that jogging on the grass in last week in cleats, another great step towards his return, was told there's always a chance he can play, but a long shot against Houston. That was Diana Rossini's report. Here's what I think, and I think you got to take advantage of this. You talk about the biggest game in 14 years since they had the 1 seed. If they get the 1 seed, they host a playoff game, and then they host another playoff game if they win said playoff game, because they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. You wait for the King to return, not in Houston, where nobody's going to be watching that game, because everybody doesn't care about the Texans. Nobody wants to watch Davis Mills in a Week 18 game. You want to watch Derrick Henry get the start in the divisional round of the playoffs for the first time in months. That's what you want, because you want the crowd on your side, and you want to take advantage of that first quarter juice. First quarter juice. That's the key. That's another reason why you don't play him, of many reasons why you don't play him this week. You should be able to beat the Texans. It's the biggest game since 2008. I am all in on that. You need the number 1 seed. You get the number 1 seed, you help out Derrick Henry even more because it's more rest. So they're in the driver's seat. They got to go take advantage. But man, Nissan Stadium, rocking and rolling for a divisional home playoff game and the return of their King. That's a first quarter juice. You can't hear. The opponent can't hear the calls. They're doing snap counts because Nissan Stadium feels like Adelphia Coliseum in 2002.
You want to talk
That's
about
what
home
I'm saying.
field advantage? In Logan Ryan's comments these past a couple weeks ago, ruffled some feathers in Nashville. You want to talk
he
about a
put
home
his
field
foot-
advantage? That's Derrick Henry's return, first game back, the divisional round of the playoffs in Nashville. I mean, you're totally right about the adrenaline aspect and juicing up the crowd in what will be probably a very cold game. Although I'm sure the Titans fans will lubricate themselves with some alcohol. But either way, to get Derrick Henry back at home in the playoffs, it was the goal all along. Don't do anything to jeopardize that. You know you have a Super Bowl caliber roster right now with Henry back on the team. Why would you do anything to potentially jeopardize that? It doesn't make sense to me. The Houston game is not when he needs to come back. And obviously, Rossini reported that it's a long shot in the first place. But get him back in the playoffs, give him a couple extra weeks, make sure he gets up to that game speed that you need him at. And then if you want to run the ball 35 times in the divisional round, maybe Henry can handle 25 of those. And Deontay Foreman has proven that he could help with the load as well. So there's a lot to look forward to. Don't even give it a chance. Don't even give a re-injury a chance of occurring this week at Houston. It's not worth it.
All right, so I kind of gave a little emotion right there, maybe forecasting what Nissan Stadium will be like in that divisional round if they beat Houston. Let's go to the chat. Give me one word that describes how you feel about Derrick Henry returning to practice, because you gotta crawl before you walk. You gotta walk before you run. And this is one step to get closer. So one word, let's go to the chat. One word to describe how you feel about Diana Rossini's report that Derrick Henry is practicing today, or expects to, after jogging last week, and another great step forward to his return. We'll get to your comments, but first, I want to talk to you guys about Wilson County Hyundai, the place that you need to go to get your next ride. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go. The Palisade, which is sleek, unbelievable, and the perfect ride for your family. You got third row seating, captain seats, all the bells and whistles. We've got you covered, and they've got you covered at WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Quick trip down I-40 exit 236. Go look at their inventory. They've got your ride.
BetMGM. Hey, want to buy a new ride? Download the BetMGM app. Use promo code A to Z Sports, and you'll receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That is, if you're a new user. If you don't have the BetMGM app, how could you not want to take advantage of this incredible offer? Make sure you download that BetMGM app, peruse the board. There's a bunch going on tonight and the rest of the week. And use promo code A to Z Sports to cash in on that risk-free bet up to $1,000. Let's win some money, guys. I want to do it together. I want to do it through BetMGM. So download that app, use the promo code, and let's win $1,000.
A to Z Sports. Let's go to the comment section. We asked the question, one word. We got some really great words. One word to describe how you feel about King Henry returning to practice. Let's see. Buffering. Now there we are. I see you, Chris. We're not buffering here. We're live, baby. Adrenaline, Brian. John says thrown. Steven says rushing. Guy says happy. Stoked from Sam. Excited from Logan. Josh says ecstatic. Hopeful from David. We got another stoked coming in from Marquis. Amped from Casey. Jason Martinez says confident. Excited from John. Assad says optimistic. Progress from Jay. Progress from Kendrick. SoFi from Jacqueline. Whoa.
I like that,
wow.
Jacqueline.
That's a good word. Jacqueline, you're getting the love of the show. Love of the show goes to Jacqueline, because that's the mindset I said earlier in the week that the Titans need to have and should have. SoFi feelings. That is the goal. So, Jacqueline, I love that. You get the love of the show. Cautious, proud from Shane, elated from Stanley, superb from Van, stoked again from Chuck, nervous from Wilbur. So look, that's honesty right there. That's a real emotion. Jonathan says relieved, expected from Willie. Hallelujah from Brent. He's getting down on two knees. Exuberant from Lane. Nervous from Joseph. Jack, what is your one word?
I want to use timely. And it's not an emotion, but that's how I feel about this return from Derrick Henry. It's timely. The offensive line is finally back together. It has been just an absolute roller coaster, full of ups and downs this season. In terms of health, Lawan has had to battle back from an ACL surgery, and he didn't look sharp early in the season. I think everyone can admit that. Roger Saffold's been dealing with shoulder issues and all kinds of other issues with his body, and he hasn't really been able to string together a bunch of games here lately that make me feel confident that this group is ready for the playoffs. Nate Davis missed some times with a concussion. Quessenberry and Ben Jones have been as reliable as you can ask. Quessenberry's missed one snap on offense all season, but it was on Sunday against the Dolphins where the Titans' offensive line had their most dominant performance yet. No sacks allowed, and yes, Tannehill was sacked once, but it was given up by McNichols on kind of a whiff of a blitz pickup. This offensive line helped pave the way for Deontay Foreman, Dontrell Hilliard to run for 198 yards. 198 yards, over 4 yards a carry. That's the recipe for success. That's the offensive line that Titans fans are used to. They've invested heavily in this. They made Taylor Lewan the highest paid offensive lineman just a few years ago. They went out and got Roger Saffold, a 10-year vet from Los Angeles, to come in and play right next to Lewan. They've drafted Nate Davis in the 3rd round from Charlotte. They've had Ben Jones stick around, and he's in his 6th season. They found Quessenberry, who's been, at least solid. You can use a lot of adjectives with Quessenberry, but solid, I think, is a fair assessment of how he's played so far. So you've got an offensive line that's humming right now, that feels confident, that's been able to really change things in the run game and keep Tannehill clean at the same time. You get Derrick Henry coming back, and these holes that they've had to create for Foreman, you could drive small cars through. You don't need to drive a small car through any of these holes when you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. He can find holes by himself. He can create holes by stiff-arming defenders to the ground. So, to me, Derrick Henry's return is timely. This team, it looks to be peaking at about the right time. There's still some kinks to work out offensively in the pass game with Tannehill. Not having Julio hurts, but very timely to get a couple weeks extra for Henry to rest and get back to full speed. This Titans team can go places with Henry. And, obviously, since his injury, there were questions on whether or not that the Titans could make a run in the playoffs without Henry. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You've got him back. The offense is starting to click. You've got a defense who a lot of people before the season said just needed to be average. Well, they're a little better than average this season. So you've got your full arsenal, just about your full arsenal, which is all you can ask for this late in the season. It's a war of attrition. It's timely. Derrick Henry's return is very timely.
So I like that word. I had another word that I was going to go with, but I switched, and I'm going to agree with Kenneth in the chat because I think it's very impactful. The word is identity. They get their identity back. When somebody goes through a breakup and they try to find out, I got to work on myself, right? That's the first thing that they say. I got to focus on myself. I got to focus on me. I'm doing me for a little bit. What they're trying to do is find their identity, right? Yeah. Find themselves after they've lost something, right? They had an identity with the person they were with. They lose that person. They have to find their new identity. The Titans have lost and had lost the person that they were with, that they truly loved. But King is coming back. And I think they're getting their identity back that, Julio has got to elevate his game. AJ, I think with the 49ers game has proven that he can and he will when the time comes. You're right in everything that you said about the Titans' identity for the offense needs to step up a little bit, but Derrick Henry helps that. So, Kenneth, I like your word. I am going to ride that train with you right there. Identity is my word with Kenneth. I like that.
It goes back to the physical brand of football that Mike Vrabel's so proud of and what has really contributed to this team's success since he arrived, 4 years ago. So, Derrick Henry is the key cog when it comes to a physical, tough brand of football and really what wears teams down this late in the season, right? You're bigger, stronger, and you just run it up the middle, run it outside, wherever you got to do, just over and over again. It breaks the will of the defense. They don't want to tackle when it's cold. And who is the one person in the league you would least like to tackle when it's about, 20 degrees outside, freezing cold, fourth quarter, about 6 minutes to go? Derrick Henry. He's impossible to bring down, and he's what makes this team. He's what puts this team over the top. Derrick Henry is why the Titans are Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, and and somebody asked about SoFi. What does SoFi mean? SoFi is the stadium that the Super Bowl will be played in Los Angeles come mid-February, 1 week later because of the extra week of the season. We'll talk about this tomorrow on a Titans Thursday, but I kind of want to see the expectations of fans of Derrick Henry when that return. We'll get to see him a little bit at practice today. So, we'll hold on that for tomorrow or Friday. Let's get to our final segment of the day, which is one of my favorites of the week. And we will get to that, but I do want to talk about where we will be live at this weekend. The Titans play at Houston. We will be live at Mill Creek Tap Room. All away games are at Mill Creek Tap Room. You get beer on draft. You can get burgers. They got a food truck live in the brewery. Nashville Power Sports hooking it up with the best golf carts in Middle Tennessee. So come visit us at Mill Creek Tap Room right there on Sunday. We will be live. Let's get to it. Throwing shade. Time to throw some shade today. It is Wednesday. If you're just joining us, throwing shade is you can throw shade on whoever you want to throw it. It could be personal shade. It could be big shade. It could be small shade. It could be Titan shade, whatever it could be. But throw some shade in the comments to whoever we kind of get a chance to clear our mind and throw some shade on Wednesday. Jack, I will let you start.
Throwing shade, man, this is my kind of topic. Okay, so my shade goes out to a specific SEC team last night. The Arkansas Razorbacks. Vanderbilt went on the road, and look, the Stackhouse era has been tough. It has been full of losses, mainly. There's been a couple wins along the way, but really none as big as last night. And I say that because Vandy entered the contest 8-4 last night, had a couple weeks off from their last win against BYU. They go to Arkansas, and they slaughter the Pigs, okay? Scottie Pippen, 22 points. Arkansas before the game, there was a big thing on Twitter how the Arkansas student section called out Miles Studi. Arkansas has the ball. They're down by 1 with about 10 seconds left in the game. Arkansas drives to the basket. Miles Studi, the guy who they wanted, who they'd called out from the beginning in the student section, comes up with a huge block, swats it away. Arkansas inbounds the ball with a second to go, misses a pretty open three. Vanderbilt wins. I think it's going to be more fun this year down on West End. I think the Commodores will finish top 8 in the SEC. Won't play on the first day of the tournament this week or this season in the SEC tournament, that is. But yeah, my shade goes out to Arkansas. Hey, don't count out the doors. They're a little better this season. They've got deep talent. Okay, the bench is not full of walk-ons for the first time in a couple years. So my shade goes out to the Arkansas Razorbacks. You are Jerry Stackhouse's first SEC victim of the season.
There you go. We got a Vandy fan throwing shit. We don't get that a lot here on the show.
Well, I got to represent when I've got a shot, Zach.
Yeah, they need somebody to represent.
I know. I'll carry the flag.
You may be the only one carrying the flag. But Stephen says, well, here quickly. Well, Steven's throwing shade at you. Throwing shade at Jack's pillow.
I just have too much hair, and I wear a hat all the time, guys. I'll get a haircut by tomorrow. You'll see. That's all right.
Stephen says, throwing shade at Adam Schefter is yet to come out on anything on Derrick Henry.
I know.
Was adamant that he was out for the first year. Brent says, shade on ACC officials in the Tennessee Purdue game. That was a tough loss right there at the end. Got some shade on Walgreens employees because of what happened with Bud Dupree, but throwing some shade at Bud Dupree. Sawyer 33, he's holding Bud Dupree accountable, which, look, there was two sides to every story. And, the video doesn't completely do it justice because we don't know what was said, right? Billy says shade on COVID that he has it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Billy. I just got over it. It sucks.
Right? I mean, it's tough. Let's see here. Alex says shade on Colt fans for being Colt fans. And we've got another Jack shade. Shade on Jack's hairstyle. He
Guys,
looks like a 3-year-old that just woke up.
I got up at 6:30, took a shower. It's just the way my hair's fallen today. Okay, I got too much of it. It will be addressed. Let's move on from the hair, guys. Come on, give me a break.
That's really funny. All right, so here is my shade happened. I guess it was yesterday, and this is again, it's first world problem shade. But so when I go into Kroger to go grocery shopping, I put my AirPods in. I put them in and I go shopping. I don't need to talk to anybody. The problem is in Kroger, there literally is no service, zero service. My phone can't even work. I can't even play a song or podcast or anything. So what you have to do, and this is inconvenient, it's a first world problem. I have to make sure that I have like my playlist ready before I go into Kroger. I'm going to have to start making a Kroger playlist, Jack, a Kroger playlist of downloaded songs so I can play them even before I go into Kroger, because once I go in, there's no service, zero, zip, nada. Usually I have good service, and it's only in Kroger. And like, there's spotty service in like the meat department, the butcher, maybe the butcher's still in the Wi-Fi or the signal. But I walk in there, and for the first half of the entire Kroger complex, zero service. You can't get on any apps. You can't make phone calls. Don't receive texts. Like, it's messed up. So my shade, first world problem, is on my Kroger. And Bill, I looked. I couldn't find the Wi-Fi. I couldn't find the Kroger Wi-Fi. I'm going to have to make my Kroger playlist. So that is my shade.
You don't like Bruno Mars? I feel like Bruno Mars is always playing in Kroger. At least the one I go to.
Yeah. And Orlando says, I think that's every Kroger problem. I feel that too.
Yeah, that's a tough problem to have. You don't want to really, the AirPods aren't as much for listening to what you want to listen, but making sure no stranger comes up to talk to you.
I know, but
that's the goal. Walking into a Kroger, speak to nobody besides the woman or man checking you out, and then you go to your car.
Well, I go self-checkout. I don't really, and I love talking to random people. It is it's something that's who I am. I don't know why. I enjoy messing with random people. In Kroger though, or where Publix, wherever you go to shopping, I don't want to speak to anybody. I that's kind of my, like, I go in there, I get my stuff.
Head down. Exactly. That's how you got to approach it. That's the only way.
So
I'm with you. I would be devastated if my AirPods couldn't connect in Kroger.
So
I don't have AirPods, but I can only imagine.
Kroger playlist on the way. All right, guys. Hey, great show on a Wednesday. We talked a lot about Bud Dupree. We'll find out if any more information comes out on that. We'll have you on lock today. Titans practice. The King returns. Special thanks to Jack Gentry on the show today. And we will see you bright and early tomorrow. Tighten Up Podcast. You want to plug that?
Yeah, we had Braden Gall this week. We talked about a lot of stuff, not only the playoff picture right now and who the Titans may see in mid-January, but also John Robinson and how he turned it around in 6 years. I mean, we talk about a guy who has had 6 straight winning seasons, 4 times been to the playoffs, has been able to really put together this core that is now contending for a Super Bowl. They're capable of winning the AFC this weekend, first time since 2008, and really giving him the proper credit because he's had some big misses, but don't let that soil his reputation and the big things that he has done and the big hires he has made. Specifically, Vrabel, who is up for Coach of the Year, should win it in my opinion. So go ahead, listen to the Tighten Up Podcast. We talk about a variety of things, the Bud Dupree incident, Derrick Henry's return. We have a little fun with myself and Austin Huff. Make sure to check it out whenever you have about an hour of time. It'll be worth it.
Maybe in Kroger. You can listen to the Tighten Up Podcast when you're going grocery shopping right there. So Tighten Up Pod, that is on the A to Z Sports Podcast Network. You got big things in store for that in 2022. We will see you tomorrow. Adios.